So I had a conversation with Brandon Ratner again tonight. He's hoping he'll be able to come help. Amanda DeMett, she was hoping she'd be able to come help too. See, a lot of people want to hate me and pretend I'm some sort of evil villain. They want to pretend that all of the abuse that I endured for an entire year before Natalie was killed, they want to pretend that none of that happened. Like I made these people up. Like I made Brandon Ratner up. Or like I made Jamie Curtis up. Or like I made Joanna Taylor Smith up. Like I made up the Bollingers. Can you imagine that? See, that's the thing, is that the term mentally ill was used my entire life to victimize me. And people that know me, they don't understand that. Pierre didn't want to understand that. Like, Sean, you're the smartest guy I know. You know, you're probably the best man I know. You're a good man, and Natalie was evil. But you know what? Natalie wasn't evil to me in real life. She was evil to me in texting and with rumors over a misunderstanding that rather than be adults about it and talk it out, they decided to gang up on me. I hadn't done anything wrong to Natalie or her family. I didn't do anything mean or cruel to them in Virginia. I didn't threaten to harm them. I didn't threaten to hurt their family or to kill their family or anything like that. But that didn't matter. Natalie was embarrassed, and she wanted to get her revenge. But she sure as fuck got it, didn't she? Ended her up with a fucking hole in her head. Meanwhile, those of you telling me to go to the cops, like, fuck, have you not seen how many times I've gone to the cops? Over 100 times easily in the last 3 years. Over 100 times. And that's not counting the phone calls. I got to go to the same officers that I told you before Natalie was killed. I said, hey, when a guy goes to the cops blow him off. But y'all thought I was talking out my ass. See, a lot of things that I was talking about that were happening in my life, and a lot of the fucked up shit that women were doing, it wasn't just Natalie. And in many of those cases, I wasn't talking about Natalie. I was talking about Jamie and James and a lot of situations similar. I was talking about Brittany. I was talking about Nicole. I was talking about Angela, Christine. The folks out there on the streets in Boulder, they know who these people are. A lot of women I know are addicted to drugs, and they make a lot of bad decisions. And then they get scared, and they just want help. They want help out of that situation they done put themselves in because they can't stay off the drugs. Then what happens? They go to a guy who isn't on drugs and need a rescue. And that dude rescues her. And then what does she do as soon as she's feeling free and clear? Right back to the drugs. Right back to talking about how these dudes that she couldn't go to for help because they wouldn't help her because they're too busy being strung out on drugs. And she wants to talk about how great friends they are. Well, that's cool. Shows where your priorities are. And me, I'm going to say, the next time she comes to me and asks me for help, I'm going to say no. I always tell myself that's what I'm going to do. I'm tired of getting abused. You give me your sob story and you want something done. And some of y'all are actually dating those dudes that actually do those things. And I know what that's like too. I also know what it's like to move y'all out of that situation. To have the same guy abuse 7 women that I know, one after the other. Some of these women were even friends before the beatings. Now, then you get the situation where eventually he does kill one of them. Well, he wouldn't have killed number 7 if number 1 had had some support and some help from her friends. But how are you going to get some support from your friends after your boyfriend beats the living shit out of you when your boyfriend is fucking your friends? Oh, yeah, you're my friend, but you're having sex with the boyfriend that beats me out. Of course, you're not registering in your head that really, why are you dating him? You want to talk about how men are pigs and all they care about is vagina and all they care about is looks? And you stuck with that guy through how many beatings because he was good looking? And a lot of y'all women that I know in real life, I got to hear the conversations between you and your mama. Oh, yeah, you guys have some beautiful kids. Really, is that more important? Is having good looking kids at the expense of your daughter possibly getting beaten to death? Is that okay? Sure, he's a dick, but he's got beautiful kids. He smiles real big and has a straight set of teeth when he lies out through them. That right there, that'll pass a lie quick, fast, and in a hurry. If you've got a beautiful smile, I don't have any teeth. I don't have a smile at all. I don't know the right thing to do because I know that everything that I've been told to do when I try it, it doesn't work. No matter what it is. The cops tell me to do one thing and then I try that. And then they tell me I did it the wrong way. I got to go about it another way. So I try that and it either gets me arrested or gets me injected with more drugs. And all my friends, or supposedly friends, who said, "Man, I got your back. John, let me know if you ever need anything. I need you to speak up." But it's got nothing to do with justice. It's a popularity contest. Like here in Chapel, Nebraska. Small town politics. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It matters who you like. If that girl that you got a crush on says that some dork did something, by all means, you're going to go out and you're going to punish that dork to try to impress that girl, ain't you? Fucking idiot. Brian Farmer is dead because of Haley Smith. Jared Wallace is dead because of Haley Smith. Dino just wanted to leave. Now he's spending his life in prison for killing two men. Two boys, actually. They should have just let him leave. Instead of Haley trying to jump into his vehicle when he's just trying to get the hell out of there. And don't get me wrong, Dino shouldn't have been trying to drink and drive. But that's not what Haley was jumping in his window about. She just wanted to start some drama and see someone get beat up. I know so many women that say, I hate violence, men are so violent. But then they literally try to dictate a situation to try to force violence out of men for entertainment. And men are to blame? See, a lot of people wanted to pick on me and say, oh, you're afraid of a little girl because of the situation with Natalie. No, I was afraid of what people would do over her opinions and over her slander and her sisters. We're not talking about little girls doing these things. We're talking about grown-ass adults. Natalie and Alicia were both grown adults. The males and females that took part in the threats, harassment, and assaults over their fucking slander. Most of them were adults. Each one of them getting to prey on my disabilities and take advantage of me for my resources. And each one of them using the term mentally ill to pretend like they didn't do anything wrong and cast doubt. And that's why people like me are so easy to victimize. You just cast doubt by questioning my mental state. Most of y'all would have shot yourselves years ago if you'd have lived my life. The hell that I had to live through before Natalie died was fucking hell. People want to type stuff at me like, the worst is over. No, it's not. By being railroaded in court date after court date, not being allowed to show evidence, being slandered across multiple jurisdictions, being harmed in multiple jurisdictions. They get to use that in all of my court dates. All of the stuff that has happened since Natalie died, they've gone out of their way to use the term mentally ill and treat me like I'm mentally ill and schizophrenic in specific, so they don't have to do their jobs. And so they can justify not doing their jobs before Natalie's death. The police in Colorado and Nebraska could have put a stop to all of this bullshit before Natalie was killed. Natalie herself could have put a stop to it before she was killed. She's going to Tim Beeson, a dude who fucking raped her, who held her down on the ground and fucking choked her about her fucking dog, and he stole her dog. She had to flee the state of fucking Colorado to Virginia to get away from Tim Beeson. And he's telling her not to talk to me, just to ignore me, while he's literally one of the people who is threatening to fucking kill me. He is literally one of the people who is treating me like a fucking child molester or a rapist. And if somebody would have taken 5 goddamn minutes in that entire year to stop telling me what I need to do and take a look what I'm going through, instead, it would have made all the difference in the world. I did what Brenda Dickinson wanted me to do. For that entire year before Natalie was killed, I did what Brenda Dickinson wanted me to do. All the people that I went to for help, I did what they wanted. I did what Tamara wanted. I did what Brenda wanted. I did what Kara Heller wanted. But none of them could stop and take the time to listen. They're too busy giving me advice and telling me what to do. Their advice and telling me what to do isn't going to fucking help me, but they're expecting me to jump through these hoops anyway. So here's me. If I jump through the hoops, will you help me? No disrespect, but you're telling me to do the same shit I've been doing for the last 4 years. Telling me to do it again isn't going to make it fucking work. Try listening for once. They call me mentally ill. Without you stepping the fuck forward, people who know me stepping the fuck forward and speaking up, I have to take abuse. And then you people want to pretend that because I am frustrated and screaming at the top of my lungs, please help me or kill me, that I'm a bad person who deserves this? Fuck you. Nobody deserves this. It's not my fault that Natalie was strung out on drugs. It's not my fault that her dad raped her or Tim Beeson did the things that he did. You know, when she needed some help to try to get this into a court of law, I needed help too. I didn't get that help. I had people talking over me. Everybody was too busy, didn't have time. Really, they just didn't fucking care. It was not a big thing to them. They didn't realize how big a fucking issue it was. Well, it was a very big issue because Natalie and all of her friends were fucking gang stalking me for an entire fucking year before she was killed. Because she was pretending that I might do something bad. And literally, the people who did actually do these bad things to her, she's going to try to get help. She knows these aren't good people. So they're telling her not to talk to me. Obviously, why would they? If she listened to me, then she would have realized that people like Tim Beeson were doing the things that they were doing. If someone in that entire time, while I was jumping through all of these time-consuming and expensive hoops to go to see fucking therapist after therapist after therapist after therapist for an entire year between when I left Virginia in 2016 and when Natalie was fucking killed, for an entire year, nearly all of my money went to traveling to see fucking therapists. And you say that I need therapy. No, I needed someone to fucking do something other than say, oh, well, we need you to fill out the sliding fee scale and then we're not going to do anything. You're being abused, but we're just going to fucking tell you you need to do this and you need to do this. And they told me, you have to jump through all of these hoops before you can get help, Sean. So they set it up so that I could jump through all of those hoops. And I started jumping through all of those hoops. A whole year worth of jumping through fucking hoops, hoping to get help, and everybody just blowing me off. They just want that sliding fee scale. They're not keeping their word, but I'm keeping mine. I'm jumping through these hoops. I'm filling out this paperwork. I'm spending all my money to go all to these fucking goddamn appointments. So Tim Beeson helped her out with the shit that she knew how to do. I didn't. She had help. She had people that went in person with her. She had people who helped her with this shit while I was busy getting blown off, because that's how someone with a penis is treated. The woman is always the victim, no matter how terrible the man is actually being treated, no matter how much evidence he has to show. You just try to convince people not to look and it's okay. You try to convince people that assaulting me and harming me is the best thing to do. And then you're busy trying to convince others that, oh no, this could never happen to me. I'm just crazy and hallucinating this shit. But you listen to them conversations with me and Miss Peaches. Listen to them conversations with me and Brandon. And me and Carl Rogers. Myself and Dan. Myself and all these different people. That show that I was telling the fucking truth. You gotta ask yourself, why the fuck didn't they speak up? Why, after 3 years of fucking abuse and 4 years of trying to get fucking help, that they still don't give a shit enough to actually speak up? They'll do everything but. I told the truth about Kinga Nichols. If she'd have come forward about that after Natalie died, it would have made all the difference in the world. Instead, she wanted to treat me like shit because after 2 years of her not coming forward, knowing that I was being abused, I recorded it and I put it on my YouTube. Like with most of these people, I have to consider her a predator because a decent person would not have wasted my time. A decent person, knowing that innocent people are being harmed, would fucking speak up. A decent person wouldn't have had to be recorded in the first place. A decent person would have said those things in a court of fucking law. Instead of telling me and then treating me like I'm a shitty person for showing the truth in the only way that I know how, in the only places that I am allowed. But sure, I'm the bad guy, right? Must be. I must be a villain because I have a penis. It must be okay to blow me off because I have a penis. I tell you, people are actually harming me. You blow me off and make every excuse not to do anything about it. But Natalie Bollinger gets all strung out on fucking heroin and meth and wants to pretend that the dude that she sent a whole bunch of messages saying she thought she was in love with. I didn't want Natalie to be in love with me. She sent me that shit, not the other way around. But you type my name up on the internet, you don't get to see all of that. You only get to see the parts from these web sleuths who spend all their goddamn time on a computer and know all this shit that I don't know how to do. They have a safe place where they can actually work on this shit. They're not constantly running around moving from place to place to place to place to fucking place. They're not being victimized everywhere they fucking go. They're the ones doing the victimizing. And a lot of people say, man, you just need to get off the internet. No, I don't. My First Amendment right is to speak out about these injustices wherever I can. It's not just my right, it is my duty as an American to do these things. It is my duty to speak out. Natalie Bollinger should still be alive. But you see how mentally ill is treated? What would they have done to Natalie? People say, oh, well, Joseph Lopez should have called the cops. He should have called the cops. He should have called the cops. He should have done the right thing and called the cops. That's not the right thing to do. She was fucking suicidal for a reason. Abuse from her fucking family. And innocent people were killed over this. Not just Natalie. But just like Natalie, Alicia doesn't want to face up to the fact that her not telling the truth has resulted in so much death. Hell, 5 homeless people in the Denver Boulder area were beaten to death for looking like me between when Natalie disappeared and when they found her killer. Natalie didn't care that her lies destroyed an innocent man's life. Neither did her sister. And you look at all these people, from her mom to Danica to Rochelle to her dad, all a bunch of fucking addicts. But the cops, they just didn't want to do their job. They wanted to believe a bunch of druggies over a disabled person who is being abused by them. But why would they listen to me? I have a penis. Most of my predators in this situation are women, and a woman can't be the bad guy. No woman in the history of humanity has ever been manipulative. No woman in the history of humanity has ever done anything terrible, rotten, or wrong. They're made of sugar and spice and everything nice. How could they possibly? Sugar and spice and everything nice. Obviously, women don't fart. Girls don't poop. And you guys want to call me the crazy one. I'm not teaching people that Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny are real. One of the biggest blows to most of your kids is going to be when they realize how much you lied to them about Santa Claus. If my parents are going to lie to me about something that doesn't fucking matter, what are they going to do about something that does? Most of y'all parents out there complaining that you can't hardly make it. Your kids are finally out of the house. They're adults now. And you treat them like shit because back in the 80s or early 90s, when you graduated high school, you were able to make ends meet. Of course, minimum wage hasn't raised that much since you were in high school. And that's an entry level position. You're no longer at an entry level position and you're still barely making it. If you graduated in 1998, your kids today have to work twice as many hours, almost 3 times as many hours to have the same things that you had when you got out of high school. And you had to work twice as hard as your parents did back in the 70s. Meanwhile, each generation talks about how the next generation is lazier than the last. No, each generation has to deal with more inflation. I remember back in the 90s, a candy bar was 50 cents. It was even cheaper than that if you went to Hanson's. But if you went to Pumpkin Pantry, it was 50 cents. And now, a regular sized candy bar is damn near $2 at Pumpkin Pantry. Has minimum wage doubled? Has it tripled? In order to keep up with the increased cost or increased price of that candy bar, you'd have to get paid 4 times what you would have gotten paid in the 90s. 4 times what you would have gotten paid in the 90s if we base it off of a candy bar. But what else can we base it on? Candy bar is considered a luxury good. 10 years ago, this flare launcher that I have up here, let me show you this thing. This is for emergencies. Shoot a flare up in the air and hopefully somebody sees it. This right here comes with 4 shells. If you want to buy 4 shells, they're almost $50 just for those 4 shells now. If you want to buy this with the shells, you can get them on the internet for about $65, or you can go to Cabela's and you can get it for $85 because Cabela's has to charge extra for everything. Now, what's the point about that? Well, just 10 years ago, I went to Walmart, and they don't carry it at Walmart here in Sydney. Or Sydney is about 30 miles away from here, so it wouldn't be here in Sydney, but you get what I'm saying. 10 years ago at the Walmart in Sydney, I could have gotten that right there for $25. I think it was like $22.50 or something. That was just 10 years ago. 20 years ago, when I first moved to Nebraska, they had the same thing. But see, this one right here is made entirely of plastic. There's only a couple of metal parts in the whole thing. 20 years ago, they were the same bright orange color, but there was real metal in it. Sure, it was aluminum, but it's still going to hold up better than that plastic. I unbraided my beard today, and of course, my hair is going wild again. That's part of the reason I braided it to begin with. I had all my hairs coming back around and tickling me in my ear. I know I go off on a lot of tangents and I talk about a lot of different things, but they're all tied in together. So you can't just say, oh, well, this girl shot this guy in the head, so obviously she's the bad guy. If you're talking about a young woman who was raped by her dad repeatedly and she tried telling her mom, and her mom didn't care, or at least it came across that way for whatever reason. And maybe it's because mom was afraid that she couldn't make the bills if she told on him. Or maybe it's because she thought she was in love with him and no man that she was in love with could ever do such a horrible thing. Say 10 type, is this why you refuse to work? I don't refuse to work. And I deal with a lot of you trolls, not just here, but also in real life. See, that's what you guys do. You find somebody who it's easy to victimize. You find a homeless person, you pretend that they refuse to work. You pretend that they won't get a job. You pretend that they can't possibly be disabled. You complain about homeless people getting free rides while your grandpa only gets half of his disability. Or because your uncle, who served in the military, blew his own goddamn head off after coming back. There's a reason your uncle blew his fucking head off. He went over there thinking he was fighting for something honorable. Then he realized the fucking truth. You know how many friends I had that joined the military and then blew their heads off? I work the best I can given my limitations. There's a guy that I helped twice this week. And it's basically a take it out and trade thing. He's not rich and I'm not rich. He needs help and I need help. But people don't understand that after doing any kind of physical labor, I mean, it does take me a few days to recover from it. That's not because I want it to take 2 or 3 days to recover from it. It's because that's how long it takes. of like I don't want stepping off the curb to hurt me, but often it does. There's a lot of stuff that you want to just assume is a choice. The saying I should get a job thing. I should jump through all these different hoops for people who don't give a shit about me, who are fine with assuming the worst in me and harming me without a day in court. Pretending like I'm a terrible person because I speak out when they do bad shit. We shouldn't have done that bad shit. Anyway, I'm going to get back to the story of the girl getting raped. So, that girl getting raped by her dad, it eventually gets to her. She needs someone to listen. Her family's obviously not gonna, so she takes that lady big to her wrist. Obviously, she's not trying to cut herself, not this time anyway. She's just trying to get some attention, somebody to listen to her. But nobody does. So she gets locked up for trying to kill herself with a lady big. She gets labeled as mentally ill. And they put these drugs in her that make her, well, not her anymore. Then she misses her friends. But just like when the police came to the house, she's got that same choice. You can either stay where you're at or you can go home to your family. Really, she's got a choice between staying locked up where she's punished for telling on her predator, or at least trying to, or going back to her predator so that she can at least have friends, so that she can have a chance at a decent life. And yeah, she's got to take these drugs for the rest of her life, because if she doesn't, then she'll get in trouble. That's what happens when you tell on your predator. That's what happens when you're suicidal and you want your life to end. You get locked up, you get injected with drugs, you get told that you're mentally ill. Is that girl really mentally ill for telling on her dad? Is she mentally ill for wanting the abuse to end so desperately that she cuts on herself to get someone to look? Please listen. That is literally what she is saying at that point. Please help. Please listen to me. I need help. Men don't get that help. You use the fact that I'm autistic to pretend like I'm mentally unfit. Use my intelligence to deny me my rights as a disabled person. Use my disabilities to deny my rights as an intelligent person. Let's read some of these comments. I'm sure at least one of them will be from a jackass. Say 10 typed, I was homeless and am disabled and was able to get a job and everything else like car, apartment, and woman. Good luck, Buttercup. You know, that's awful fucking nice. It is. You know, I almost had those things. Minus the woman. I don't want a woman in my life. Not as a girlfriend, anyway. If you're my friend, that's cool. I don't want anything beyond that. I don't want your bullshit. I don't want to deal with the drama that I have to deal with when you get it in your head something sexual. Maybe Sean might want to have sex with me. Or, oh, well, I want Sean to have sex with me and he's not getting the hint. And then you do mean shit. If a guy doesn't get your hints, you do mean shit to him. That's so fucked up. But it's difficult to get anything in life when you are alone and people are so busy victimizing you, so busy taking advantage of you. because you're in a desperate situation. Oh, he's in a desperate situation. I could take him for all he's worth. Sure, we were friends for 20 years, but now he's in a desperate situation and he's got a little bit of money to spend. So I'm going to take him for his money and throw him away like trash. I'm going to use and fucking abuse him and then pretend like he's the bad guy. I'm going to steal from him and pretend like it's justified because Natalie died. You got no idea how many predators stepped out of the woodwork after Natalie was killed. Stepped out of the woodwork to use Natalie's death as an excuse and validation for their cruelty, for their years of bullying. You know, one thing that always got me when I was in Boulder, I'd get off work and I just want to go take a rest. Of course, I'm homeless. I can't just go take a rest. I'll get harassed by cops, so I got to stay up. And unlike most, I stayed away from the methamphetamines. You know, eventually that girl who's getting raped every day, she's going to get fed up with it. She's going to kill her dad. And you're going to say, oh, well, she has a history of mental illness. No, she has a history of trying to tell on her abusers, and you have a history of punishing her for it. And you're even worse to men. Girls start cutting themselves at 5 times the rate of males, starting at the age of 15. Males start committing suicide at 5 times the rate of women at the age of 15. When you say that Joseph Michael Lopez should have called it in, what would that have fucking done? Would having her committed to a mental hospital and injected with fucking drugs again, would that stop her dad? Would that stop her mom? Would that make her family love her? Would that stop the abuse? She just wanted them to love her. That's her family. Those are the people who are supposed to love her. I know what that's like. My family doesn't give a shit about me. My family cares more about drug dealers and rapists than they do about me. My mom literally sold her house to a child molester and his wife, both of which have been my predators. Both of which did extremely wrong things after Natalie died. Both of them got strung out on fucking drugs and took advantage of me and promised they were going to help me. Instead, I ended up watching their kids. Well, Amy went to work like a responsible adult, and Andrew went out to get all fucked up on meth. When y'all hear that conversation or those conversations between me and Shannon Alvarado, you know how she keeps on bringing up the fact that I'm good with kids. You know whose kids those were? Amy and Andrew Witcher's kids. Who is it that abused Amy and Andrew Witcher's kids? That'd be Amy and Andrew Witcher. Who is it that abused Amy Spencer, aka Amy Kalina Kingery's kids? That'd be Amy Kalina Kingery, Joshua Rayborn, and as much as I don't want to speak ill of the dead, Rana Ingersoll. It's tough, ladies, isn't it? It's tough when the predator is family. It's tough when you got to choose between the good guy and family. And for a lot of you, you're fucked up. You automatically side with your family. I can't do that. I can't automatically side with liars and automatically side with child molesters and automatically side with rapists, even if we are related. My little brother Michael raped his own daughter, and my mom helped him out, helped him to get away with it. My grandpa raped my mother, and my mother helped him to get away with it. Of course, she also extorted him for $200,000 in his lifetime. Holy hell. She also sold her house here in town, which I actually could have paid for at the time. I could have bought. She sold that house to Amy and Andrew Witcher, who did such fucked up things to me after promising that they were going to help me. Instead, they just put a bunch of roadblocks in my way. They promised me that if I helped them out, they'd help me out. You know, you wash my back, I wash yours kind of thing. But nobody's got to keep their word when they can call you mentally ill. Between Andrew the meth head and Sean David Schwartz, I'm always going to believe Sean David Schwartz. There were times when I lied. I lied because I had to. When I had a bunch of people threatening to kill me and the cops wouldn't do anything and made excuses saying that it wasn't illegal. Really? When I did it back, they came down on me like a ton of bricks. But then again, I wouldn't have had to do it back if I'd have had someone there to speak for me. Someone who would look at the evidence. Now it's 4 years worth, and people say, hey, Sean, you know, nobody is going to fucking sit down and look at that. I get that. 4 years worth of abuse because people just want to turn away. They want to turn a blind eye to all of the jackasses that are harming me and pretend like if they ignore it, then it means it's not happening to me. No, that's not how it fucking works. You can pretend in World War II Germany that Jews aren't getting thrown in the oven to appease your own consciousness all the fuck you want. Those Jews are still going in the fucking oven. No matter how many excuses that you make, it's not okay to put those people in that fucking oven. Even if you call them mentally ill. What most of you aren't paying any attention to is that you're telling me to do things that people who are not called mentally ill are allowed to do. When you are called mentally ill, you aren't allowed to do those things. No matter how many times you suggest it, I'm not allowed. I have to have someone else speak up for me. Without that, they can do whatever they want. Brandon Ratner said that he would speak for me, and he fucking didn't. Danica Garner, same thing. Turned out she was just manipulating the situation. Same thing with Rochelle Shelley Campbell. But that's what drug addicts fucking do. By their own admission, they are drug addicts. They just wanted someone to take it out on. All of the evil shit they fucking did to Natalie. They wanted to alleviate their pain. And they wanted to alleviate their responsibility when it came to Natalie's death. They wanted to make themselves feel as if they had done no wrong by placing it firmly on me, by threatening people who tried to help me, by harassing people who tried to help me, by shaming them for listening. Oh no, don't listen to Sean. You should only listen to us. Meanwhile, I have proven to you, with nearly all of these people, how my predators were connected with the Bollingers, including the Bollingers who are my predators. How they manipulated the situation to try to hide their fucking crimes. And because cops, although cops are supposed to be objective, and this is all supposed to be figured out in court, the cops had already decided my fucking guilt and did everything in their power to prevent me from showing evidence. I have to take abuse every day because these cops didn't do their jobs. And there is evidence that they literally went out of their way across multiple jurisdictions on multiple occasions to tamper with evidence. I need people to speak out. Because I'm not allowed. It is inappropriate for me to have to go to the very same judges, lawyers, and fucking cops who committed criminal acts against me. It is entirely inappropriate for me to have to go to them for help. It is entirely inappropriate for those people to be allowed ever again to do those things to me. But then you look at those judges, those same judges, court date after court date after court date. Those very same judges who I was trying to get in court for their crimes. And many of them are in trouble for doing it to others now. And still, you pretend like I am the predator. What Ted Bollinger had done prior to Natalie's death, he continues to do. Has continued to do. Natalie's family told me that I had more reaction to Natalie's death than Ted Bollinger, her own father. Why is that? Well, because she was just fuck meat to him. To me, she was someone who saved my fucking life. She rescued me from the hell of being disabled and homeless. Being unable to carry the backpack on your fucking back that is full of the gear that keeps you from fucking freezing to death. I loved Natalie for saving my life, not because she was pretty. If Natalie hadn't saved my life, then I wouldn't have been able to go up and rescue Jamie and her son from James. I'm glad I got to rescue Jamie from him, especially with the size of them bruises. And I know that it's not my fault that she went back to him. I know that it was not my decision, and I also know that it is not right, after all these years, for me to continue to have to take the punishment for being the fucking good guy. Fuck this goddamn country.